chosen one, this message did not arrive by accident. You were not meant to hear this casually or pass through it distracted. Heaven arranged this moment deliberately because something sacred took place in your life recently, something quiet, something unseen, something most people would overlook. But God did not overlook it. He noticed. He leaned in. And today, He speaks with clarity and tenderness to say something that carries immense weight. I am proud of you. This is not a motivational phrase meant to stir emotion. This is not empty affirmation. This is heaven responding to obedience that cost you something. God saw the moment when you could have taken the easier road, when compromise would have relieved pressure, when silence would have protected your comfort. Yet you chose alignment instead. You chose restraint instead of reaction. You chose faith when fear was loud and convincing. You chose obedience when no one was watching and no applause was promised. And heaven marked that moment. There are decisions that look small on the outside but echo loudly in the spirit. You made one of those decisions. You didn't announce it. You didn't defend it. You didn't seek validation for it. You simply did what was right even though it felt costly. And that choice touched God's heart deeply. This is the kind of obedience that shifts timelines quietly, rearranges outcomes behind the scenes, and unlocks favor without fanfare. While the world kept moving, heaven paused and said, "Watch this." God is not impressed by noise. He is moved by alignment. He is not drawn to performance. He is drawn to sincerity. What pleased Him was not how visible your obedience was, but how genuine it was. You honored Him when it would have been easier to protect yourself. You trusted Him when answers were delayed. You held your ground when walking away would have felt justified. And that trust carries more weight in heaven than you realize. Many people believe God only responds to dramatic acts of faith, public breakthroughs, or visible sacrifice. But God often speaks most clearly in response to quiet faithfulness. He celebrates what happens in the secret places of the heart. He watches how you respond when no one is clapping, when the room is silent, when obedience feels lonely. And in that space you were faithful. That is why He is proud. Understand this clearly: God is not evaluating you based on perfection. He is not measuring you against an idealized version of who you think you should be by now. He is not comparing your journey to anyone else's path. God measures direction, not distance. He looks at movement, not speed. While you are focused on what remains unfinished, God is paying attention to what has changed within you. He sees the progress you barely notice. He sees the growth that feels slow to you. He sees the discipline forming beneath the surface, even when results are not yet visible. Where you see weakness, God sees courage being exercised in unfamiliar territory. Where you see delay, God sees endurance being strengthened. Where you see frustration, God sees maturity learning restraint. You may feel like you are still becoming, still learning, still shedding old patterns, but that process itself delights God. Growth often feels unimpressive from the inside because it happens gradually. But heaven recognizes momentum even when it looks small. God looks at the heart, not the scoreboard. He watches internal shifts long before external change appears. And today, He saw something in you that made Him smile. He saw you pause where you once reacted. He saw you resist thoughts you used to entertain. He saw you choose peace over pride, humility over proving a point, integrity over temporary relief. He saw you pray when it would have been easier to disengage emotionally. He saw you remain faithful when motivation disappeared and obedience became a decision rather than a feeling. These moments did not feel powerful, but they were. Heaven places great value on unseen victories. The prayer you whispered instead of screamed mattered. The temptation you quietly walked away from mattered. The forgiveness you released without being asked mattered. The consistency you maintained while tired mattered. God celebrates what the world ignores. He honors what others never notice. Faithfulness in small things is not small to God. It is the foundation of everything He entrusts next. What you did may feel forgettable to you, but it was seed-sized obedience, and seed-sized obedience is never wasted in God's kingdom. Seeds work silently beneath the soil long before anything breaks the surface. The size of the harvest is not determined by the size of the seed, but by the faithfulness of the planting. This is why God is proud of you. Not because you were dramatic, not because you were perfect, but because you were dependable when no one was watching. Dependability is rare. Consistency is powerful. Heaven trusts those who obey without an audience. What you are becoming matters more than what you have done, and God sees that clearly. Some tests arrive quietly. They don't come with warnings. They don't look spiritual. They look ordinary, routine, and easily missed. Yet heaven watches those moments closely because they reveal character, not performance. Today was one of those moments, subtle, uncelebrated, but deeply significant. Heaven watched how you responded when you were misunderstood and not given the opportunity to explain yourself. It watched how you acted when your effort went unnoticed. It watched how you handled familiar pressure trying to pull you back into old patterns. These moments were not about success. They were about alignment, and you chose alignment. You did not react impulsively. You did not compromise to feel validated. You did not let frustration rewrite your character. You stayed grounded, and in doing so, you passed a test you did not even know you were in. God recorded that obedience. When God says, "I'm proud of you," something profound happens in the soul. That affirmation silences the voice of condemnation that has tried to narrate your life for too long. Shame loses its authority. Guilt no longer gets to define your future. You are no longer operating from fear of failure, but from security in relationship. You are not on probation with heaven. You are accepted, you are embraced. This approval does not inflate ego. It stabilizes identity. It gives you permission to move forward without dragging the weight of yesterday behind you. It empowers you to obey without fear. It anchors you internally so external opinions lose their power over you. One word from God carries more authority than 1,000 voices from people. You may not feel strong right now, but you are being prepared. Preparation often feels like weakness because it removes false strength. Refinement feels uncomfortable because it strips away what cannot go with you into the next season. God is not rushing this process because what He is shaping in you must last. Fire does not destroy what God has chosen, it reveals it. You are not in pressure because you failed. You are in it because you were trusted. The furnace is not rejection. It is confirmation that something valuable is being refined. You are not just waiting, you are becoming. And what you are becoming will be able to carry what is coming next. God is proud because you stayed aligned under pressure. You allowed Him to shape you rather than rushing ahead of Him. And that obedience has positioned you for what comes next. This moment matters. Don't rush past it. Let it anchor you. When doubt rises, remember God is proud. When progress feels slow, remember God is proud. When fear whispers lies, remember God is proud. Heaven sees you. Heaven remembers. And God is smiling. This is only the beginning. What God affirmed in you today is not meant to end as a feeling. It is meant to become a foundation. Divine approval is not a momentary comfort. It is a positioning statement. When God expresses pleasure, He is signaling readiness, alignment, and trust. Heaven does not speak casually. Every word God releases carries intention, consequence, and movement. And when He says He is proud of you, it means something is shifting quietly but decisively in your favor. Many people misunderstand God's silence. They assume silence means absence or disappointment. But often silence means God is watching closely. He speaks less when He trusts more. He corrects loudly when something is off course, but He affirms quietly when growth is genuine. The season you've been in has felt quiet not because God withdrew, but because He was observing your responses without interference. He wanted to see what you would choose when no instruction came, when no reassurance followed, when no immediate outcome appeared. And you chose well. God saw you continue even when clarity was partial. He saw you stay faithful even when confirmation was delayed. He saw you resist the urge to rush, force, or manipulate outcomes. That restraint matters. In God's kingdom, restraint is not weakness, it is evidence of maturity. It shows that trust has replaced anxiety and that dependence has replaced control. You are learning how to wait without wandering, how to trust without seeing, how to obey without constant reassurance. And that growth has prepared you for what comes next. There is a reason God allowed certain doors to remain closed longer than you expected. There is a reason some prayers seemed unanswered, some promises delayed, some breakthroughs postponed. It was not punishment. It was protection. If certain things had opened earlier, they would have demanded a version of you that was not yet formed. God does not release weight to a structure that cannot yet carry it. He builds depth before exposure, strength before responsibility, identity before influence. This is why the pressure you endured did not crush you. It shaped you. It revealed areas that needed healing, pruning, or strengthening. It exposed what was temporary so what is eternal could remain. You were not being stripped to lose something valuable. You were being stripped to lose what would limit you later. God removes what would compete with your calling before it competes publicly. And your willingness to stay surrendered during that process is why heaven now speaks affirmation. You are entering a season where what you carry internally will begin to show externally. Not all at once, not loudly, but steadily and undeniably. The fruit of obedience always appears in time. What was planted in secrecy begins to surface naturally. Favor begins to follow you, not because you chased it, but because alignment attracts it. Opportunities begin to find you without striving. Conversations shift, resistance weakens. Doors that once felt heavy begin to open with less effort. This is not coincidence. This is alignment bearing fruit. However, hear this carefully. The next season will require the same posture that pleased God in this one. Pride would try to rise where humility once guarded you. Distraction will attempt to replace devotion. Comfort will whisper louder than obedience. But the same God who was proud of you today is inviting you to remain grounded tomorrow. Growth must continue. Dependence must deepen. Relationship must remain central. God does not elevate people away from Him. He elevates people who stay close. The enemy's strategy will shift as well. When temptation no longer works, discouragement will try. When discouragement fails, distraction will attempt to pull you off focus. When distraction loses power, subtle compromise will appear dressed as opportunity. You must remain discerning. Not every open door is a God door. Not every opportunity is an assignment. Not every invitation is alignment. The discernment you gained in hidden places will be essential in visible ones. God is proud of you because you learned how to listen internally rather than react externally. You learned how to pause, pray, and choose rather than rush, respond, and regret. That discipline will protect you as momentum increases. Greater movement requires deeper stillness. Greater influence requires stronger roots. God is not just preparing what He will give you. He is preparing how you will carry it. There will be moments ahead where you will be tempted to doubt this affirmation. Old voices will try to resurface. Memories will attempt to accuse. Circumstances will test your confidence. But you must remember this truth: God's approval is not revoked by struggle. His pride in you does not disappear when things feel difficult. Growth does not stop being growth just because it becomes uncomfortable again. Resistance often increases right before expansion. Pressure often intensifies just before breakthrough. Do not misinterpret challenge as regression. You are not going backward. You are moving forward into unfamiliar territory. New levels require new responses. New assignments require deeper trust. God is stretching you, not straining you. He is strengthening you, not overwhelming you. And when you feel unsure, return to this anchor: God is proud of you. That affirmation carries authority. It silences the need to prove yourself. It frees you from comparison. It releases you from chasing validation. You do not need to explain your process to people who were never assigned to your journey. You do not need to justify your obedience to those who do not understand your calling. God's approval is enough. His affirmation is sufficient. You are no longer striving to earn God's pleasure. You are learning to move from it. That shift changes everything. Obedience becomes lighter. Faith becomes steadier. Peace becomes more consistent. You stop forcing outcomes and start trusting timing. You stop fighting every battle and start choosing which ones require your energy. Wisdom increases because identity is secure. This is how God builds leaders, carriers, and stewards of His presence. Not through constant applause, but through quiet refinement. Not through instant success, but through sustained obedience. Not through pressure, but through relationship. And you are responding well to that process. Soon you will look back and realize this season was necessary. You will see how delays protected you, how silence trained you, how pressure refined you. You will recognize that what felt like waiting was actually preparation, and what felt like isolation was actually focus. God removed noise so you could hear Him more clearly. He reduced distractions so your discernment could sharpen. He slowed your pace so your foundation could deepen. And now movement is coming. Not chaotic movement, not rushed acceleration, but purposeful forward motion. God is aligning people, resources, and opportunities that match the version of you that is emerging. You will not have to beg for doors to open. You will walk into rooms prepared. You will not feel overwhelmed by what comes because you were shaped quietly beforehand. Stay faithful in the posture that pleased God. Stay teachable. Stay humble. Stay prayerful. Stay aligned. Do not abandon what formed you once things begin to change. Remember where your strength truly comes from. Remember who sustained you when no one else could. Remember the quiet obedience that brought heaven's affirmation. God is not finished with you. He is not finished forming you. He is not finished using you. What He has begun, He will complete. And as you continue forward, let this truth settle deeply within you. You are seen, you are trusted, and you are deeply valued by heaven. You did not imagine this moment. You did not mishear this word. This affirmation is real, it is intentional, and it is preparing you for what is next. Remain steady, remain faithful, remain close. God is proud of you.